Hello, hello. Okay, that's working now. Okay, so we're good. All right.
Drew Manning.
We're going to get started while Chris tries to work his magic, so send him some good vibes so that it'll come on at some point. But we're just going to do it without it. And I'm sure some of you have seen me present before, but basically, oh, no, you haven't? Okay. So I'll just try and paint a picture for you and describe it in great detail so that you'll actually know what I'm talking about. All right, how many of you, back in 2011, I did something called Fit to Fat to Fit. How many of you actually followed me during that time when I did it? Okay, so quite a few of you. So this was an idea that kind of came to me in 2011. I grew up in a family of 11 brothers and sisters, right? I don't know what my parents were thinking, but somehow they pulled it off, having 11 human beings that they raised, and we all played sports. I played football, I played wrestling, and so for me, I never once knew what it was like to be overweight. I was always in shape. It was fairly easy for me because I was always active, playing sports. And then in 2009, I decided to become a personal trainer because I felt like that was something I was passionate about. I always liked working out and staying in shape. So I became a personal trainer. And here I was, someone who had never been overweight a day in their life, trying to help people who had been overweight the majority of their life. And there was an obvious disconnect between them and me because for me, I was like, it's simple, right? Here's your meal plans, here's your workouts, you just do it, and it's not that hard. And then they would tell me, oh, Drew, you know what? I tried to follow your meal plans, but I gave in and had some soda, or, I was really tired and I didn't go to the gym today. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do it? Just put the junk food down, you go to the gym, you'll see results. It's not that difficult. And I couldn't understand why it was so hard for them. And they would tell me, Drew, you don't understand because for you, it's always been easy. And for me, it's really hard. And that kind of hit home to me. I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's something I need to learn. Maybe me as a trainer, I need to learn something to better understand my clients. So I was thinking of ideas. And for whatever reason, the idea of getting fat on purpose, I know it sounds crazy and ridiculous. Who would ever do that? It entered my mind, and it felt like this was something I was being called to do. It felt like this was a calling. And I felt like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And I was married at the time. My wife was pregnant, and she's like, so you're telling me we're going to have junk food in the house. We're going to be able to eat anything we want. I'm like, yeah. She's like, yes, let's do it. And I was more of the health nut. I was like, okay, only vegetables in the house, no junk food. But she wanted all the junk food being pregnant. And so here I was, I was about 193 pounds, 8.5% body fat. And the idea was for 6 months I could eat whatever I wanted to and no exercise. So those were the rules I had to follow. Seems pretty simple, right? And then the next 6 months after I gained the weight, I would show people how to walk the walk. And I had to put my money where my mouth is and say, okay, this is how to lose the weight. That was the idea in a nutshell. I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty easy. It's not going to be that hard. And then I, started on this journey. And I'll admit, the first couple of weeks were really fun. It was this sense of freedom. I could go to the grocery store, skip the produce section, go down the cereal aisle. We have hundreds of options of flavors of cereal and soda and cookies and crackers. Why? I don't know, but we do. And so I was like, this is awesome. I could pick out anything I want in the grocery store. I don't have to go to the gym. I don't have to eat vegetables. And you do feel like, okay, this is kind of fun, a sense of freedom, right? Some of us think freedom is being able to do whatever you want whenever you want. And at first it feels that way. But you're not free to choose the consequences of those decisions. Am I right? So very quickly, that sense of freedom started to dissipate. And about a month in, I started snoring, which affected my sleep, which affected my energy levels throughout the day, which affected my mood, and her sleep as well. And very quickly, I realized that this was becoming a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I remember walking up the stairs, I was out of breath. Bending over to clip my toenails. I've never had to hold my breath before as I clipped my toenails, tie my shoes, play with my kids. And there was all these little things that I just kind of took for granted that I had no idea would be this difficult. And in the first month, I gained 21 pounds, which was interesting because in the beginning, people were like, Drew, you look normal now, gaining 21 pounds. I'm like, I feel so unhealthy. I feel so overweight at 21 pounds. And I'm like, how am I going to do this for 5 more months? And it was interesting how your perception versus someone else's perception can be so different sometimes, right? So let me give you guys a typical day of what kind of the foods I ate during this journey. So I woke up in the morning, and any guesses to what I had for breakfast? Cereal, yes. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, yes. My daughters are still asking for that. We don't have that in the house, though. So I remember as a kid in the 80s, seeing commercials on TV for a complete American breakfast, right? Bowl of cereal, glass of juice, piece of toast, right? How many of you guys remember seeing commercials like that? And that's what we have been, that's what we've been told to eat for breakfast. So that's what I ate for breakfast. I would eat, sugary type of cereal. But if you notice on the side label, it says the serving size, suggested serving size. Nobody eats 3/4 cup, right? Nobody eats 3/4 cup of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yeah, exactly. I call it a man-sized bowl of cereal, a big tall glass of juice, piece of toast, and then a couple hours later, I was starving again. So I would have some type of snack, like a chocolate-covered granola bar and a soda. And then for lunch, I would have a couple of peanut butter sandwiches on white bread. And then between lunch and dinner, I would have another snack, right? So I would have a bag of chips and another soda. And then for dinner would be white pasta, marinara sauce, meatballs, and then a side of garlic toast. But then, of course, that's not your last meal of the day. You're watching TV, and you have to have something sweet to snack on. So cookies, ice cream, or if I was really lazy, another bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
They just shut down the system.
You guys still hear me over there? Okay, so I would have another bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch sometimes at the very end. And that was a typical day for me. And you wouldn't believe how many hundreds of people emailed me watching my journey saying, Drew, you eat exactly how I eat. You're eating the exact same foods that I eat. And this is how probably 80% of Americans eat this type of food. Why? Because it's convenient, right? It's cheap, it's affordable, and I'll be totally honest, it tastes really good. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I mean, come on. It's unfair, right? How these companies spend millions of dollars on making this food hyper-palatable so that we do become addicted, and it's no wonder why we can't get off of that, because we've set up this backward system, and now it's an uphill battle to get people off of this food because of those three things. It's convenient, it tastes really good, and it's affordable, cheap food that we can eat over and over again, all right? And so that's the type of food I ate 90% of the time. I never talked about why I wanted to do this. I mentioned I wanted to gain a better understanding of what it was like to be overweight. But also, I wanted to show people just how unhealthy the typical American diet really is. How many of you guys have seen the documentary Super Size Me? Okay, Morgan Spurlock, he eats McDonald's 3 times a day for 30 days straight. He almost dies, right? All of us know that fast food is unhealthy for us. We still eat it for some reason, but we know it's unhealthy for us. What I want to do is focus on the everyday American food that we grew up on in the 70s and 80s, because that's the majority of what people eat in this country, right? Maybe us here at this conference, we don't eat that way, but people still buy that food. Ding dongs, Twinkies, ho-hos. When was the last time anyone had a Twinkie in here? Maybe it's been a while. Maybe, I don't want to make you raise your hands, but most of us don't snack on that stuff anymore, but there's still millions of people eating that food. Am I right? Otherwise, they'd be out of business. And so these are the types of foods that I wanted to focus on. And sometimes some of these foods are marketed to us as healthy, right? All natural, fortified with vitamin A and vitamin D, low fat, all these types of marketing tools that companies use to make us feel like, oh, that's low fat. That's got to be good for me. That's all natural ingredients, of course. That's got to be good for me. And so people buy into that thinking some of this food is healthy for them. And that's what I focus on during these 6 months. I gained 75 pounds of pure fat in 6 months. This wasn't some bodybuilder bulking phase. If I had the photos, you see the photos. But it's 75 pounds of pure fat, right? I didn't exercise during this journey. And here's the thing. Physically, I knew I was going to get big doing, putting on this weight. I knew I was going to put on some pounds. I knew the man boobs were going to grow, and I was going to get some love handles. I was ready for that. What? Check. Okay. So I was ready for that. What I wasn't ready for was how this journey was going to affect me mentally and emotionally. So here's the thing. When you grow up your entire life in shape, your identity is based on what your body looks like. And so for me, I was my body. And once my body changed, I kind of freaked out. I really did. I wanted to go up to strangers I didn't know and say, hey, I'm not really overweight. This is just an experiment. Like, here's my before picture. Like, this isn't me. This isn't me. Because I didn't know how to handle being overweight for the first time. And unfortunately, the opposite of that is true as well. When you grow up your entire life out of shape, we identify ourselves as our body. And so for me, it was a rude awakening. It really opened up my eyes to just how much of transformation is mental and emotional, and I had no idea, right? I remember, being so self-conscious about my body. Like I said, going out in public, I was so worried about what other people were thinking of me. But even internally at home, my wife at the time, I didn't want her to see me naked, so the lights were off in certain situations, and I would cover up stepping out of the shower. I didn't want her to see me naked. I didn't want to see myself naked. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And it was more than I bargained for. And this is where the journey became so humbling. And this is where I learned the most valuable lessons, was on the mental and emotional side, not the physical side. I remember another time, my daughter, who was 2 at the time, Kalea, say hi. She's 9 now. She was 2 at the time. I remember she would want me to chase her around the house. She would want me to chase her for hours. Like, Daddy, just chase me, right? Every kid wants to play that game, so I would just chase her. She would laugh, and we would run around the house. And I remember at my heaviest, I came home from work. I was actually working in the medical field full time, and I was doing Fit to Fat to Fit kind of on the side. So I came home from work. I was exhausted. I was tired physically and mentally. And she's like, Daddy, come play with me. And so I would chase her around the house. And after about 2 minutes, I was out of breath, of course. Chafing became an issue, which I was not prepared for, and I was super uncomfortable. And so I had told her, I'm like, honey, I got to take a break. Daddy needs a break. And she didn't know what I was doing. So she was trying to pull me off the couch saying, Daddy, come play, come play. And I told her, I'm like, Kalea, I can't right now. Daddy needs a break. And she started bawling, right? And it broke my heart because it made me think about how many millions of people can't play with their kids or their grandkids, not so much because of their weight, but because of their health. And how bad that must suck. How bad that must hurt on the inside not to be able to play with your own kids or grandkids because of your health. And here I was doing this as an experiment on purpose to myself. And it still was very powerful in that moment. And, is it working now? Nope. False alarm. So I started to realize how much of this journey was becoming way more than I bargained for on the mental and emotional side. And this is what my book, Fit to Fat to Fit, my first book, goes into, was the mental and emotional journey of what I learned gaining this weight. Because it was very, very humbling. I did have a doctor monitor me throughout this journey, just FYI. They did my blood work. I went on the Dr. Oz show, which I usually show a clip of, to kind of show what was happening on the inside of my body. Because here's the thing, I think our relationship with food is what needs to change. We see food as, how is this food going to affect my physical appearance? Right? Is this cheeseburger and fries and milkshake, going to put fat on me, or is this salad and water going to help me get skinnier? Right? And that's all we look at food as sometimes is, hey, I'm hungry, I need food, get in my belly. And, if I eat this, I'll get fat. If I eat this, I'll get skinny. When in reality, food affects us at the cellular level. There's so much more information that food gives our body that we don't realize. And so for me, when I went on the Dr. Oz show and he showed a comparison of my organs, my kidneys, my kidneys versus a healthy kidney, my liver versus a healthy liver. And we don't realize the damage we do to the insides of our body when we eat this food. And the problem is that when we drink a soda, Mountain Dew, or we eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch, it's not like all of a sudden, oh man, my kidney, that really hurt my kidney. I probably shouldn't do that. It's not instantaneous, right? At least for the most part, it's not painful instantly. It's stuff that creeps up over time. And before you know it, boom, type 2 diabetes. Now you got to change your lifestyle. And it's too late sometimes for people because it slowly creeps up on you, and that's what people aren't aware of when they eat the food. They think, how is this food going to affect my outward appearance? And so it's up to us to be more aware of what we're putting in our bodies. And I'm not saying you can't ever eat sugar or eat these unhealthy foods ever again, but as we become more aware, we realize, okay, do I really want to put this in my body? Is this worth it? Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's not. And so that's another thing that I learned on this journey. So here I was, 75 pounds overweight. I only expected to gain 50 pounds, you guys. It wasn't, I didn't mean to gain 75 pounds. It just kind of happened. So I gained 75 pounds in 6 months. I had all this weight to lose. And I said, you know what? I went on all these TV shows because the media kind of found out what I was doing and invited me on. And so I went on all these TV shows and said, I had this following. So I was like, you know what? I have weight to lose. People out there have weight to lose. Why don't we do this together? So I posted what I ate every single day, the workouts I did every single day, so people could see exactly what I was doing. It wasn't some magic pill I was taking, or it wasn't like I was starving myself, eating 1,000 calories a day. It wasn't like I was working out 5 times a day in the gym to get my body back. I wanted to show people how to live a healthy lifestyle that was sustainable, even for someone like me that had to lose 75 pounds in 6 months. So I worked out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays were lifting days. Tuesdays, Thursdays were high-intensity interval training cardio days. My workouts were 30 to 40 minutes max, 5 days a week. I went from 5,000 calories to 2,000 calories of real whole foods. I didn't do keto back then. It wasn't as mainstream, and I wasn't as educated on the ketogenic diet back in 2011. So I kind of, but I focused on eating whole food, 2,000 calories per day, over the course of 6 months. But I'll tell you this, when I switched from eating 5,000 calories of processed, sometimes delicious food, to all of a sudden 2,000 calories of real whole food, it sucked really, really bad. It was awful. The first 2 weeks, I've never experienced that kind of hell, where my body was fighting back, wanting the high that food gave me, because I had ate it every single day for 6 months. And this is what I didn't understand before. I would tell my clients, it's not that hard. Put the soda down. Put it down. Don't eat it anymore. It's not that hard. And then here I was trying to live a healthy lifestyle as a trainer and a proponent of living, a healthy lifestyle, eating real food. And those first 2 weeks of eating spinach shakes and broccoli and, chicken and all that stuff, the food didn't taste nearly as good as I remember. And that showed me that your taste buds adapt to the foods that you're eating. And that was really surprising to me. And the emotional connection to food was way more powerful than I ever imagined. And this is what really opened my eyes to help me have more empathy for my clients. Because, for the first time in my life, when I got off of that food, and I just ate that way for 6 months. Imagine someone that ate that way for 6 years or 6 decades of their life, and now you're saying, okay, switch over to this food and expect to be perfect on it. It's really, really hard for people to just, cut cold turkey, no more processed food, no more sugar. Some people can do it. Most people can't. They'll try to willpower their way through it. Just like a drug addict, you wouldn't go up to a drug addict and tell them, hey, what's wrong with you? Just stop doing drugs. It's not that hard, right? Hopefully you wouldn't say that, because we know that there's some type of psychological and real addiction. I really do feel food is addictive. And I only lived it for 6 months. And trying to get off of it was really, really hard, a lot more difficult than I thought. And that emotional connection to food was way more powerful than I ever imagined. And it was one of the most humbling things I've ever done. After about 2 weeks of going through that hell, of going through those withdrawal symptoms, of wanting that food, it did get better. Your body adjusts. So be patient with your body, be patient with others as they're trying to make change. And luckily for me, the thing that kept me going was the accountability, knowing that there were people out there, thousands of people doing this with me. And I was like, if these people can do it, I can do it too. Because trust me, there were days where I wanted the Cinnamon Toast Crunch again. And I was like, it'd just be so easy to have a nice bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch with some cold milk, and it would just taste so good. But I didn't do it knowing that there were other people out there doing this journey with me, and that's what kept me going. And that's what's powerful for anyone out there trying to make a transformation, is the power of accountability and having a support system and knowing that there's other people struggling along with you that makes you want to push past those moments of, temptation or where you're feeling weak, knowing that there's other people that are willing to do it too. And so that's one of the biggest takeaways that I took away from this whole thing was the power of accountability, but also how powerful the emotional connection to food really is. And it was very humbling for me to go through that. Luckily, it did get easier over time. The cravings kind of became more manageable. I still, thank you. Oh, is it working? All right. we forgot to push. Oh no.
6 months ago, Drew.
All right, here, I'll show you guys. Can you turn the lights off? Can you turn the lights off really quick? I'll just kind of briefly summarize what I was missing before. So here's me on day 1. Obviously a lot of baby oil and tanning, manscaping. And then 6 months later, that's what happened. 269 pounds. That's the side view, the pregnant view. Okay, and then I'll just show you guys the clip. We'll just run through it just because it's kind of entertaining, if the audio works.
6 months ago, Drew Manning was a personal trainer with washboard abs. Now, thanks to a steady diet of donuts, corn dogs, this fitness buff has gone from lifting weights to gaining weight, packing on more than 70 pounds on purpose. And what he says is an attempt to help others get in shape. Drew and his lovely wife, Lynn, will join us live in just a moment. They're right over there in the studio. Hi, guys. But first, to look back at Drew's journey from fit to fat. Meet Drew Manning, a self-proclaimed fitness addict who has dedicated his life to working out and eating healthy. So, why is this personal trainer almost 80 pounds overweight? This was him back in May.
I've always been the fit guy. So to better understand what some of my clients go through, I decided to let myself go for 6 months. No exercise, unrestricted diet.
25 weeks ago, Drew had a 34.5-inch waist, 17-inch neck, and weighed 193 pounds. Today, he has a 47.5-inch waist, 19-inch neck, and weighs a hefty 269 pounds. With the support of his wife, Lynn, he has documented his weight gain on his website through weekly weigh-ins, photos, blogs, and videos.
This week, corn dogs is what you guys want to see me eat.
In just the first month, Drew gained an astounding 21 pounds.
This right here wasn't there. I wasn't there before. I just walked up the stairs, so I'm a little bit out of breath.
And as the weeks progressed, the weight took a heavy toll.
It's already really hard, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I doubt, what am I doing? Are you crazy?
It affected all aspects of his health.
My glucose levels were high. My blood pressure was off the charts. So it's getting a little scary.
Everyday tasks became a struggle.
You have these rolls of fat like everywhere, kind of impeding you from, bending over to tie your shoes.
His once Adonis-like figure replaced by a much larger physique.
So that puts me up at like 76 pounds almost, which is unbelievable.
Now begins the real challenge, the journey to reclaiming his former fit self.
All right, anyone want a cheeseburger? No? Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward to the Dr. Oz clip. That was just kind of like recapping what I went through, the foods that I ate. How many of you guys have eaten here at Lucky 13 in Salt Lake City? Yeah, that was Lucky 13. Have you done the challenge? Has anyone done that challenge? Okay, it's impossible, just FYI. I failed miserably, but once a week, I would allow my followers to vote on a man versus food challenge that I had to go and do, and that was one of them. They said, hey, go try out this challenge, and it was awful. But all right, let me show you guys the Dr. Oz clip, blah, blah, blah. I kind of mentioned that stuff.
All right. Listen, I want everyone out there to understand what really happens when you eat a diet like this.
Yeah.
We don't have your starting blood tests. You didn't have statistics done at that time. So, we're going to assume you were pretty healthy because you look like you did when you first started this all. So, top up, you're going to look at this. I got some organs for you.
Sure.
And I think this will bring it clear. And we started you at 193 pounds. Is that right?
Yep.
That's the first measurement you made about 6 months ago.
Correct.
Right, and that's your body mass index calculation, therefore, is 24.8, which is normal. And for guys muscular as you are, you didn't have any excess fat on you.
Yeah.
So go ahead and put these gloves on. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to give you your vitals today.
Okay.
So your body mass index now is 34.
Really? 34 from 24.8?
Yes. You're obese.
Wow.
Not overweight, obese.
Okay.
And at risk for major complications.
Okay.
So I'm going to walk you through what those complications are.
Okay.
Liver function. The normal numbers we look for liver function tests is an enzyme value less than 40. Okay? A month ago, yours was 66. That means your liver has been beaten up so much by the standard American diet, the SAD diet, that it has actually been tortured in the submission, and now is suffering. It's inflamed.
Okay.
And almost certainly has fatty infiltrates. Let me show you what that looks like on the inside. This is what your liver normally looks like. It's your largest organ. So if I were to cut it through here like this and give you little slices of it, this is what it looked like 6 months ago.
Okay.
This is what it looked like.
How big it is now?
Yeah, in the last month.
Really?
Excessive amounts of fat stored in there. Well, you're heading towards cirrhosis if these numbers stay that way.
Well,
Now, the good news is you still have the opportunity to turn that back around. And then something else, we have some numbers on your kidney function from a month ago.
Okay.
And there's a number we use to figure out how well the kidney's filtering fluids. You want that number to be a big number?
Yeah.
All right. Your GFR, which is the number we use, is normally above 80.
Okay.
Today it's 72. But it's, it's been hurt. And here's again, the kidney normally looks like this. It's just plump, almost, I call it voluptuous. You may have a different term for it, but it's just full, it's robust. It looks like it could filter. Let me show you what happens to the kidneys after high blood pressure, scar it, and obesity.
Really?
So here's the aorta, right? You see the inside's gotten disease like this? See the plaque in there?
Yeah.
And these plaques go into the kidneys and they kill the kidneys.
That's scary.
It is scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you've done for 6 months, and this is why I was so fearful of doing it. I mean, I don't remember having a fight this big a fight anyway with my staff.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could do this show if I did what you were doing.
Yeah.
And after seeing
I'll pause right there. Basically, really quick, Dr. Oz's producers actually challenged him to do something similar for 30 days. And he refused to do it. He was a little bit smarter than me. And he's like, hey, let's get this guy. He did it for 6 months. But that's what I was trying to describe to you guys was sometimes when we look at food, we don't realize what it's doing to the insides of our body. We just look at it as is this going to make me lose weight or gain weight or lose fat or gain fat? When in reality, we should be looking at food from a whole different angle of how is this going to affect me, from a medical perspective. And it really opened up my eyes to just how quickly your body can change. For 31 years of my life, I was healthy, I was fit, I was in shape. And then in just 6 months of letting myself go, it's scary how quickly your body can change. My blood pressure was 167 over 113. I developed a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in 6 months' time. My testosterone dropped to the low 200s. All my lipids were in the red in just 6 months. And it didn't matter how long I had been in shape for, right? People told me, oh, you're in shape because of your genetics, and your genetics won't even allow you to gain weight. I remember people telling me that in the beginning. And we were all surprised at how quickly that changed. Okay, just for sake of time, we're going to skip forward a little bit. This is my buddy Calvin. I'm going to show a video with him at the end. But one thing I want to drive home is how powerful empathy is. And this is one of the biggest lessons I took away from Fit to Fat to Fit was the power of empathy. Because I really do believe no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So you could have all the scientific knowledge in the world. You could understand calories and macros and what workouts are going to be best for you and what meal plan to follow. All that is important to know. Don't get me wrong. You definitely need to know that information. But if you don't understand you and your challenges on the mental and emotional side, then it's just going to be another diet that you try, you do, until you understand how to overcome your own mental and emotional challenges. So for me, as a coach, a trainer, whatever you want to call it, and all the other leaders out there, it's important for us to come from a place of empathy and realize that no one cares how much knowledge you have until they know how much you care about them first and foremost. Because, like I said, you can know how to fix every single person in this world, but unless you know how to connect with that person and have some type of relatability with that person, most people aren't going to be willing to listen to them until they feel like they're coming from a place of authenticity and they truly do care. And that's one of the biggest takeaways from Fit to Fat to Fit. So that's my buddy Calvin. So a really quick story about him. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. Back in 2003, he lost 300 pounds. Looked great, totally different person. Kept the weight off for 6-7 years, and then boom, life punched him in the face. Lost both of his parents in the same month. Aunts and uncles, grandparents, like within 6 months. And so he went to a very deep depressive state, gained all the weight back plus some. He's somewhere between 500 and 600 pounds in this picture. I'll show you his story at the end. But really quickly, I do want to talk about some of the other things that I want to pass along to you. If any of you guys are on a journey of trying to transform, obviously a lot of us come into this with physical transformation in mind. I want to lose weight, I want to get skinny, I want to have a six-pack. That's what we want. A lot of people want that, right? People are obsessed with that, especially here in America. We want the quickest way to lose the most amount of weight in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort. How many of us want that? We want that magic pill. We're looking for that, right? What's the new diet out there? What's the new workout program? And we've always been looking for that, even though it doesn't exist, right? And so I want to share with you some of the things that I took away from my Fit to Fat to Fit journey that's been able to help hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world embrace this as a lifestyle change, right? The first thing I tell people is to publicly declare your goals. Now, you don't need to go out there and start becoming a YouTuber and vlogging about your journey, but you certainly can. Publicly declaring your goals makes you accountable to an audience, whether it's your friends, your family, your Facebook friends, some type of social media platform. And when you publicly announce it, it does make you accountable. And that fear of failing is a powerful tool. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It depends on the person. But for most people, I think it's important to say, okay, I'm going to do keto for the next 6 months. Tell your friends, tell your family, so that they're aware that, hey, Joe Schmo, they're going to be doing keto. So let's try and help them out. Let's make some keto snacks for them at the party coming up. Or, if I see them eating pasta, we can say, hey, I thought you were doing keto. What happened? And keep them accountable. And so it's really important to publicly declare your goals, because that'll also help you find your support system. And sometimes who you think your support system isn't always your friends and family and loved ones. Sometimes those are the ones that are trying to sabotage you because they don't want you to leave them behind. But you need to find a support system, whether it's online, whether it's in person. You need a support system. I'm not a huge fan of scale weight. For some reason, we as humans have become obsessed with our relationship with gravity. And that's all it is. It changed your perception of it, and it has no meaning except for the meaning that you give it. So really all it is your relationship with gravity. But for some reason, that relationship drives us crazy, because if that number's not going down, we think we're failing. We think we're a failure. We think we're not successful unless that number is the number that we want it to be. But I tell people all the time, if you looked in the mirror and you had the perfect body, you loved what you saw in the mirror, but you were 20 pounds heavier than what you wanted to be on the scale, would you care at all about your scale weight? Most people say no, but a lot of people will say yes, because they just are obsessed with that number. They're obsessed with that relationship with gravity. They want that number to be whatever it is they want it to be. Change your perception, though, of what that number means and the power and the meaning that you give it, and your whole story changes. Schedule breaks. This is something that's kind of, depends on the person, depends on why they're living this lifestyle. Anytime people are like, Drew, do you ever have anything that has a carb in it? Yes, I do eat carbohydrates. I just use them strategically. When I have them, how much I have them. I kind of schedule it out. So I know, like, for example, I'm trying to think of some type of tradition, whether it's Christmas or the holidays or doing something with my daughters. I don't mind having pancakes from time to time. But it's, how much of it am I eating? Am I going ham on it and just going crazy and just letting, am I downing a whole box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? That's probably not the best thing. But for me, it's your intention with why do you want it? What's your intention behind wanting, a grilled cheese sandwich? Or what's your intention behind wanting it? Same thing with alcohol, What's your intention behind wanting to drink it? Are you doing it to cover up some pain? Are you doing it to numb your feelings because you're trying to escape? Then for me, that's not a healthy relationship with food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. It's your intention behind wanting to do it. Why do you want to do it? A lot of times, there's an emotional reason for overeating. But it's up to you to find out what that is and dig deep to become aware of, okay, when I get stressed out about my mom that drives me crazy, I go to the ice cream, or I go to drinking, right? Find out what it is to learn how to fix it. And that's why transformation is so much more mental and emotional than people think. I could give you guys the best meal plans, the best workouts, the best macros to follow, and the best supplements to take. But none of that matters unless you know how to overcome your own mental and emotional challenges. Does that make sense? We think it's just, I'm stuck. Something's not working for me. Maybe I need to change up my macros. Maybe I need to change up, how many calories I'm eating. Maybe I need less calories, or I need to work out 7 hours a day. We think of those things, but in reality, it's usually more on the mental and emotional side for most people. But we overlook that because that's the hard stuff to deal with. Cutting calories and working out, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's easier than dealing with some type of emotional trauma that we're afraid to talk about or be vulnerable about. Am I right? Keep tempting foods out of the house. For me, if I go home right now and there's a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch on my counter, I promise you I'll probably eat the whole thing. I really will. I know what my temptations are. I know if I have, Samoa Girl Scout cookies in my cupboard, I lost. I already lost. I already know. But because it's convenient, right? We're a society of convenience. So if you have those unhealthy foods and it's just as convenient as going to your pantry when you have a stressful day, you're most likely going to give in at some point. But if you make it inconvenient, you probably won't go out of your way to go to the grocery store in the middle of the night, grab the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, bring it back home. Most people aren't going to do that. And that's why you have to make the healthy food more convenient than the unhealthy food, because we are a society of convenience. We want convenience. So it's up to us to make the healthy food more convenient by stocking your fridge and your pantry with only healthy food, because then you're not going to be as tempted. You're like, all right, I'm stressed out. What am I going to eat? I'm going to cheat and have a lot of carrots, or something like that, which is a lot better than ice cream and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Am I right? So that's just an example. And don't compare yourselves to others. This is the biggest thing. And this is what's so hard is we live in this world where social media we become so obsessed with how we look versus how other people look. Even with not just like their physical body, but with their emotions. That person looks so happy. I wish that was me. They look so rich and they're traveling the world and they have this perfect body and we think that's what we need to be. At the end of the day, my message to all of us in here is to change our perception of what health and fitness is. We think health and fitness needs to be this Instagram model-like body because we think if I look that way, then I'm healthy. And if I don't look that way, then I'm unhealthy. And that's simply not true. Your version of healthy on your body is going to look different than my version of healthy on my body. And that's okay. We have to be okay with that. Because until we are, we're going to keep obsessing and hating ourselves and saying, one day I'll be happy if my body looks this way. And before we know it, life's gone. Life's too short. And we're chasing this impossible perfection that might not ever happen. And so for me, it's all about the journey and focusing on the process and the habits and let the results take care of themselves over time. But when we focus only on results, that's where we find, we feel like we're less than, we're not a success because we're only focusing on the results versus focusing on the habits and the process and what we're becoming as we're living that lifestyle, as we're, living those habits and that process. And if we just let the results take care of themselves over time, maybe eventually we'll get there to the results that we want. But instead, our perception changes. And when our perception changes, our story changes and our life changes. But it's up to us to learn how to change our perception of what health and fitness needs to be. It doesn't need to be this Instagram model type of look. And if we don't look that way, then we're not successful. That's a myth. So I recommend don't buy into that. I'm going to show you guys a video really quick of my buddy Calvin that I mentioned before, and then we'll close there, and I think we have a Q&A afterwards. And I apologize for all the technical difficulties. It's a little bit smoother when I have the presentation and the videos to go along. What's that? Thank you. I appreciate that, you guys. I'm going to do one more video. Yeah.
I reached out to Drew on Instagram and sent a message, and to my surprise, within 5 minutes, he agreed to meet with me. And I was just like, wow, like that's pretty cool, and so here I am getting ready to leave today to go to Utah to meet Drew Manning. Here I am ready to take this journey, but it's pretty overwhelming and I don't know how to get from here to there. I'm just hoping and praying that I can get some wisdom, some strategy, some kind of motivation to keep me going and to lose this weight again once and for all.
Calvin, what's up, brother?
Drew.
Good to meet you, man.
Oh my
Welcome
God.
to Utah, man.
Nice to meet you. Dude, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm not gonna be fake.
Man.
This is my personality, so I'm gonna keep it real. Like, this is Drew. Y'all, this is Drew Manning. Come on now. This is awesome. I just want you to know, man, how much you mean to the people like myself. And I hope that you will become the voice that really helps those that are struggling. So now my grand total is now 170 pounds that I have lost by following and connecting with Drew. I go out there quarterly. I work out with him. He takes me to the gym. He takes me to the cryotherapy. I still don't know all that I did, but I did a lot. And I really saw somebody took the time. He took the time to help show me how to do this. And he never tried to sell me once on his programs or the keto diet. This has been an amazing journey. And I just gotta say publicly, if it wasn't for Drew, I don't think that I would have the hope that I've been looking for, that I've been praying for. I've been praying for this for a long time. My prayer was, God, help me to get back on top. Help me to get back on top. And sometimes God will use people. And I just believe God used Drew Manning in this complete keto program. And I just hope and pray that it just blesses people, because it really has been the secret for me in my second weight loss journey.
So just to close up, Calvin, he is down 170 pounds. He's still on his journey. He's hoping to get back to where he was before he gained all the weight. So you can follow him at, I think, Calvin Nowell, Nowell. Very entertaining guy. He's also a gospel singer part-time, does marketing on the side too. Great story. But anyways, just to close up, I just want to say thank you. Yes, my new book is available, Complete Keto, which just launched a couple months ago. If any of you guys want a copy, feel free. I'll be signing books until this closes. But once again, thank you guys for listening and taking the time, and hopefully you took away something from this presentation.
Thank you. Once again, Drew Manning.